talkSPORT's Dallas Krupp, he's saying that Sporting want Amorim to stay until after the November international break. United negotiating to get him sooner. So it looks like you're going to get him, man. That looks pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's just about right.
But maybe, because I think some initial reports were he will be in the dugout for Sunday's game.
Nah.
But it looks like, Flex, that won't be happening.
No, that won't be happening. I think that was way too soon to even expect that realistically anyway. And it looks like that Man United are just trying to thrash out a deal of how to get the coaches out, how to get him out. And of course, he probably wants to be respectful to the club as well. He looks like he's a man of dignity. He looks like he's a man of respect, and he's shown a lot of loyalty to them. He's said he's standing on his decision, says, I'm here to take responsibility for my decisions, which I will. So we have to allow them to do that. I know you want to just go wading in there and say, we're Man United, we're getting your manager, but it doesn't always work like that, especially when there's release clauses and there's formalities to be done. And this is for Omar Barada and co and Jason Wilcox and Dave Brailsford, whoever's in charge of these negotiations, probably Omar Barada. This is for them to sort out.
When INEOS came in, Man United fans were obviously really happy because I think you basically got to a point where you wanted anyone but the Glazers running the football club. How would you sum up the first kind of 6 months of INEOS at Manchester United? Have they made, it feels like they got a lot of the big decisions wrong. We know lots been made of people losing their jobs behind the scenes and they're stopping lunches here and all that. But yeah, do you maybe feel that some of the big decisions in terms of the sackings and appointments, have they made a bit of a mess of it early on?
So I think some of the big decisions have been right. So the first big decision was to rip up the football department and build it again. So going after people like Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, I believe to assemble that and knock it down and start again, that's a big call. Assembling the task force to say that we're starting to look at a new stadium, we're not doing this. Manchester United needs to have a new stadium, new grounds, etc., etc. That's a big step. And pumping money immediately straight into Carrington and looking at what that looks like to upgrade the city. So those things are good. I will say the first big L, like I said yesterday, and I stand by that, but they did get wrong, was not sacking Ten Hag when they were flirting with the idea of doing that. I think we can all say that now, and I think by them sacking him now, especially after that game, is almost like an admission of guilt. It's like they're putting their head above the pulpit and saying, okay, we screwed that one up, but it happens. We've made our first mistake. We're going to fix it now. We're going to be ruthless and go and get a young up-and-coming coach who we really believe in. But it has put us back a few months. There's no denying that. It's put us back a couple of 100 million spent when it might not have been spent in this manner had we had a different manager in the summer, in Ruben Amorim or whoever it could have been by then. It's also put us back because you could have made this change and not have to start the season in this way with this morale. So, yeah, that this is their first bad decision, I would say. Big L.
When Ten Hag brought Van Nistelrooy in, everybody just assumed that whenever Ten Hag was going to go, Van Nistelrooy was going to come in and be interim manager. Say again.
They weren't wrong, was they?
No, yeah. but they're wrong in the sense of he's only going to get a couple of games, isn't he? I think some people thought he would sort of maybe get.
And I think that's the right decision.
You think it's the right call?
100%. I was never comfortable with a fast track.
Will he go as well? Do you think, Van Nistelrooy?
It's up for discussion. We don't know yet. My opinion is I wouldn't mind if he stayed. If he has his three coaches, Ruben Amorim, but Van Nistelrooy's there on the coaching staff, can help them in terms of knowing what Manchester United's about. It's a friendly face about the place, and Ruud is a good coach. He's got a reputation as being a young up and coming coach himself. So for him, as a United fan as well, to see him in and amongst the coaching setup is I would like to see, but it depends what the new manager wants. He can't just have people around there for sentiment. Ruud or no Ruud, and I stand by that. We can't be operating off sentiment, and that's the very reason why I never subscribe to the theory that if Erik Ten Hag does get sacked, let's start romanticising about maybe we could give it to Ruud. He's won with PSV in the one season he was there. Maybe. No. We've been there with Ollie. We've been there with the emotive thinking. No, it needs to be business decisions, football decisions that's best for the football club, not emotion. So what I would want to see if Ruud doesn't stay here is obviously him. He was tipped for the Burnley job just before this, turned that down. Right. Maybe if he hangs around long enough in this country, I'm pretty sure someone else will get sacked. Maybe at Wolves, maybe at Crystal Palace, something like that, and he can get a job there.
Is this a Man United team? We've spoken so much about managers and ownership and footballing departments. When you purely look at what you've got to work with this season, you purely look at the 11 footballers that play and the substitutes, is this a United squad that's good enough to come in the top four? Or do you think you're just not the level of Chelsea and Villa, and obviously the three above?
I got a lot of reservations about our firepower in general.
Yeah, where are you about with Højlund and Xerxes?
Yeah, Xerxes, I think he's not a high volume scorer, is he? He's not potent.
That's a concern, though, isn't it?
Of course it is. Of course it is, because he's not. Apparently, he's not this centre forward that basically scores goals. He's one that drops off the front and links the play. And if you've got the perfect setup for that, like a Firmino type, then fine. But I don't see that. I don't see that in him. Rasmus Højlund is still very raw, but I think there's something to work with. So we don't have a top draw centre forward. We don't. And in the wing positions, we've got inconsistent players in Rashford, in Garnacho, who's having a good season and doing well, but the wasteful aspect of it will be there. So I don't know where. I can't guarantee goals. Having said that, there's been many examples of managers going into teams where you look at it in one way and go, they just don't score, they're not very good, they're not this and that and that. Look at when Unai Emery went into Aston Villa. They were 17th, mate. Like 17th with the same squad that Gerrard had, but people looking at it going, I'll tell you what, look at this, it's awful. And he got them. If you're a good enough manager,
good coach,
you can work with, Marcus Rashford, Bruno, Alejandro Garnacho, Kobe Mainoo, players like this. These are good players.
What, trying to look at kind of how Amorim sets up his sporting team. We know he plays with 3 at the back. It's still a high pressing team. What sort of players do you think would fit into a Ruben Amorim starting 11?
Well, you look at the 3 centre halves that we could have to offer in that system. I'm looking at Martinez left centre back, De Ligt in the centre, and Lenny Yoro when he's fit.
Right, sure.
At right wing back, that looks quite exciting. At right centre back. Right wing back, I think Dalot, that'll be an easy transition for him.
Sure, when fit, left wing back?
That's the biggest problem we've got, because, like you said, when fit, he's not going to be, mate. He's going to break down at some stage. I think we need to move Luke Shaw on, and Malacia's coming back off a long-term injury, so we don't have a reliable left wing back. So there's an issue there, but Mazraoui can do a job. Luke Shaw can do a job for however long he's fit for, yes. Midfield 2 of potentially Ugarte and Kobe Mainoo. That looks like it can work. I'm happy with that. Just ahead of that is really interesting, because if he plays like 2 inside forwards as like 2 10s, or does he just go with a 3? Well, then Rashford could probably play as one of those just behind a Højlund, and then Bruno would have to be the other one.
Yeah,
so your
sure.
traditional wingers probably not, unless he does just do a 3-4-3 where he does have a front 3 that stays the same. So you'll have to make some tweaks. We haven't got the perfect squad for it, but again, that's what managers do. You have to make use of what you've got until you can get what you want.
Final question on Ten Hag. How does he go down in Man United history? How will he be remembered as a Manchester United manager?
Well, he'll always be remembered as a Man United manager who beat Manchester City at Wembley in the cup final and the FA Cup. Every Man United fan watched the game, enjoyed it, rejoiced, getting one over Pep Guardiola after avenging your defeat the year before, with Kobe and Garnacho scoring, the 2 youngsters, the future of the club. It was an amazing day. So he will be remembered for that. He will be remembered for the Carabao Cup as well. He got 2 trophies.
Course, yeah.
But essentially, he'll be remembered as someone who got 2 trophies back to back, but out of his depth and wasn't good enough.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.